Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Breaking Butterfly podcast. If you are new here, a very special welcome. And if you are not new here, hi, welcome back. I am so grateful to have you guys here. Today's episode is going to be 5 boundaries that I have set that have completely revolutionized my work life balance. We all know how important a work life balance is, and, just balancing the masculine and feminine energies in your life. Um, and yeah, with a business, sometimes the work life balance can be challenging. It's kind of interesting what happens when you start your own business or when you have your own business. You think that you're creating it for more freedom, right? Like a lot of us come from a 9 to 5 lifestyle, or we're in a job that's really demanding and we want to start our own business for like freedom. And then, we get into our own business, and a lot of times we set more structure and more rules and more pressure and more due dates and longer hours than when we were even in our job, right? And some of that is just entrepreneurship. You really don't work less hours than you would at like a typical job, I would say. I feel like I'm kind of just always working in a sense. It's different types of work, obviously. Um, but there's this idea that things are going to be so different when you have a business. And what happens when you come from a very structured place, whether it is just like school or corporate or whatever job you are in, if you are not consciously setting boundaries and if you're not being very intentional in the way that you uh, honestly, you're being your own boss in the way that you structure things for yourself. If you're not being conscious and intentional, you can kind of fall into just the same things you were doing before, but now you're just like doing it to yourself. Like you want to get out of your job because of like the manager was being so hard on you, but now in your business you're just like being hard on yourself. And in your job you're like, oh, they're making me work so many like long hours, and you're pushing yourself and pushing yourself and you're getting overworked. And then you start your own business and you kind of fall into that same pattern if you are not like being careful. Even, an example, when I first started my business, I would always kind of set my hours as like 9 to 5 hours, like being available for calls, or like the time that I was on my computer. It would get to be like 9 o'clock and I'd be like, oh, I need to hurry and get working. Why? I don't need to start work at 9 or 10. I could start work at 4 p.m. if I wanted. You know what I mean? Like we kind of just fall into these normalized structures, or we fall into like the ways that we used to be. So when you have your own business, I mean, having a work life um, balance, even if you don't have a business, is so important. And some of these things are going to resonate with you and relate to not having a business. But I want to speak specifically to having a business. What does it actually look like to have that balance, and what boundaries can you put in place so that you don't fall into the overly masculine kind of like wrapped up in your business? How can you really separate the two so that you can still live your life and have the freedom that you actually wanted, and like why you started your business in the first place, right? You don't want to go from like one overworking job to another overworking job. You want to create a business that supports also the lifestyle that you want. All right, so let's get into these 5 boundaries that I have set that I want to share with you guys. I love my boundaries. I have really like curated these, tailored these to like genuinely improve my quality of life so much. And so I just know that they're going to help you guys. Also, I often exchange the terms boundaries and personal policies. If you've worked with me before or you're like a client of mine, you know this, you know about personal policies. And personal policies are essentially, I like it as a different term for boundaries, because boundaries sometimes feels very like ick, and it feels very like you're telling someone else how to act, instead of your personal policies being almost these rules that you have for yourself and how you live your life. And then if other people, maybe don't work with your policies, well, that's just my policy and how I live my life. And so whatever, there might be consequences, but a boundary sometimes feels very like outwards or about someone else. Like I'm setting a boundary with you rather than like, this is just my policy. So it's the exact same thing. And I might use it interchangeably. Um, but I just like personal policies. The energy of it just feels better. So yeah, let's get into them. The first one, number one, and one of the greatest things that I have ever done for myself ever. I'm telling you, like, I'm so happy with my decision on doing this. I went back and forth on it for a while, actually. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to do it or if I was going to do it. And finally, I just like pulled the trigger and I got a second phone. I literally have a second iPhone. It's like my little iPhone 11. It's nothing fancy. I mean, I might upgrade it soon, but I got it used at Best Buy for like not like some people might be like, oh, two phones. Like that's so whatever. It must be like expensive or something. I literally got it for like $300. I think I got the line for an extra like $10 added to my phone line because I have like a family plan. So it was like super cheap to even get like the service. Um, and I know it seems like a little overkill. And I have like some friends. I actually have like a group chat and they call me Maddie Two Phones. Because I joined our group chat from both of my phones so that I can see the group chat like from both my phones. I don't know. And I now have the nickname as Maddie Two Phones. So to some people it might seem like really silly or crazy. But if you have a really demanding job or you are an entrepreneur and people are like often trying to get a hold of you, or you have like a business social media that's like always popping off, oh my God, like separating these two things completely shifted my quality of life, how I feel as a person, how I wake up, how I go like to sleep. It is just changed because for so long like I just was looking at everything. I was always seeing my to-do lists, my emails, my podcast, my statistics for things, like all of my DMs coming through and then client messages coming through and then people like texting me about business. Like at this point we have like 6 different apps for messaging. Like I've got Telegram, I've got Voxer, I've got iMessage, I've got WhatsApp. Everything is popping off. And sometimes I just want to like text my friends or my family and I don't want to have to see a billion different things about work. I want to be able to turn off work and just clock out and just be myself and just like be Maddie and not be like a coach and not be like a leader. I just want to like sit on the couch and like text my friends and like binge on a show, and I don't want to see client messages coming through. And I know what you might be thinking. You're just like, well, why don't you just like turn the notifications off? For me, that personally doesn't work. I'm still going to see it anyway. Like I'm just going to look. Sometimes I don't know, like sometimes we just do that. Like when we're doom scrolling on our phone or we're just kind of like fucking around on our phone. I don't know. I'll just like open different apps or just like be on my phone. I just still see it. I always still see it and I don't like it. So getting this personal phone for me, I literally hardly anybody has this phone number. It's just like my personal phone with like my really close friends and family. And then I have Instagram on this phone. I didn't for a long time. I just had texting. And then finally, because I don't take my work phone out with me, like if I'm going to a show or if I'm going to like dinner or something with my friends, I don't take my work phone. I just take my personal phone. So I eventually got Instagram on there so like people could contact me. Um, but it's only my personal Instagram. And that's another thing too. I don't know if I set that as another tip or if that's the same tip. No, same one. Still like tip number 1, have a work and personal phone. Also have a work and a personal Instagram. I talked about this in my one of my last episodes, I think 2 episodes ago, on like whether you should have 2 Instagrams or just have one Instagram. For me, for my work-life balance, like having a personal Instagram has been a fucking game changer for me because I just feel like I'm somebody else outside of my business, right? I am not my work. I have my work and then I can turn it off and just be me. And I can just express me and I can just like talk to my friends without like having business on my mind. Like I can completely turn off and clock out. And that is so priceless to me. I don't even care that I'm paying for 2 phone lines or that I have to like buy an extra phone or that like if people think it's like weird or I definitely did have some friends and family at first that were kind of like, you know, what are you doing? And like they were kind of confused where to text me. Um Even still, like some of their contacts are like messed up and they don't know which one is my work phone and which one is my personal. And to that I just say like put work in parentheses and personal in parentheses. But there was like like a growing pain moment with everyone of like, well, what phone do I call? And people calling the wrong phone and they're like trying to get a hold of me. So yes, it was like a little weird at first, and some people are like, I don't know, just like think it's weird. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to me ever. Like I love leaving my work phone in my office, and when I am done working, I close my laptop, I turn my work phone on do not disturb, I turn off my lights, I close my blinds, I walk out of my office and I close the door, and like I am done. Just like I would be at, a 9 to 5. And this is what I was talking about. Like sometimes you get out of the 9 to 5 to like live a life of freedom, but then you never turn off because you're just on your work phone all day, every day. And like if you were at a 9 to 5, you'd be able to just like shut your computer and just like be off. For a lot of jobs, you can kind of just clock out and you're done and you don't need to think about it. Whereas with a business, it's like you're just kind of on and you're just running all the time. And that is not healthy for you. You need to completely turn off. You need to be able to completely turn off and like go on a walk and think about like other things that are not your business. And you need to be able to just go to sleep and like set your alarm on your phone and not see like business emails coming through. You need to like create that separation. So for me, I could not recommend this enough. If you have been thinking about it and separating a little bit more and having these separate phones, it might feel a little different at first, but it's worth it. Even just like sharing pictures to both of my phones, it's so easy. Like we have AirDrop for everything. I have my iPad, my lap. I've at this point I have like my AirPod Maxes, my iPad, my laptop, my second laptop, my work iPhone, my other iPhone. Like I've got all the devices. They're all connected. It really isn't like that. I don't know. It's just not that crazy. It's worth it. So yeah, highly recommend. 10 out of 10. One of the best boundaries I've ever created. Okay. Number 2, one of the boundaries that I have set in my business is I only take calls about 2, maybe 3 days a week, depending. Usually there's only 2 days on my calendar per week that people can book calls with me. Now, this is because a lot of times we start our business and we're like, oh, well, I'm available all the time. Like I'm completely open. I'm open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, right? That's a lot of times the immediate that we go to. But you have to remember when you are running a business, you have so many other things to do. So many other things than calls. Like you can't just be on calls all day. You have like admin things to do. You have content, you have marketing, you have contracts, you have emails, you have messaging, you have like voice memos to clients. Like I'm doing so many things. And we have this expectation for ourselves that we need to just be on all the time, when in reality, like me only taking calls 2 to 3 days per week, I'm still working like full-time hours. And this is how you can get caught in the trap of like getting overworked and like just getting too booked, where you feel like you don't have time for your life. It's you're not fully um I don't know how you would even say it. Like you have different expectations of like what you are actually capable of doing. And I'm not saying this in like you're not capable of like your dreams. I'm saying you need to be realistic about what you actually have to do and the tasks that you have to do and how long it's going to take you. And also remember, you quit your 9 to 5 to not work 9 to 5. Why are you trying to work 9 to 5 and setting your hours like Monday through Friday with like kind of 9 to 5 hours? No, I work like afternoon to evenings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And when I say work, I mean those are my working hours in terms of open calls, and I'm like client facing on my calendar. But today's Monday, I've been working all day, but I've been like recording podcasts. I've been doing a bunch of like money stuff behind the scenes of like invoices and tracking things and like Google Sheets, and like I've been doing like admin stuff. And then tomorrow I have like 3 client calls in a row. But then I don't have any more client calls the rest of the week because I have so many other things to do. So yeah, this has been incredible for me. And if you feel like you can't do this because you need to be taking more client calls, then you need to raise your prices for whatever it is you do. If you're like a coach, a VA, like you're just in like marketing, social media manager, any type of service provider, you need to somehow like shift your offerings so that you aren't like overworking yourself, because you're never going to have a work-life balance if you're not charging enough for your services. Okay. With that, with tasks, so number 3 is only doing what is necessary. That is my boundary. I only do what is necessary. We fall in a trap of just wanting to do everything. We want to do all the things. We want to be on all the platforms. And we also like to keep ourselves busy because we feel like that's being productive, but we're not actually being productive. We're just kind of being busy. A lot of times we're just kind of like dilly-dallying, and we're like scrolling TikTok, but we think we're trying to find like trends, but really we're just scrolling on TikTok. Like, this is where the work smarter, not harder comes in. And if you are spending so much time on your business that you don't have time for your life and you're not feeling balanced, it's probably because you're doing a lot of things that aren't necessary. So you have to find your non-negotiables and what is actually working in your business. Find what works and keep doing it. I just wrote an email on this. If you're not on my email newsletter, you should be. I will put the link in the show notes. So go subscribe to my email. I send like a lot of value in there. But I created this whole email about, just whatever, like creating balance, essentially, kind of similar to this. And one of the things I was talking about is non-negotiables, and how like you have to keep doing what works. Why are you finding what works and then like doing something completely different? And then like it's the shiny object syndrome. It's like, okay, this is working. This is working. Now I'm going to do this other thing because this other coach said that I should do this and this is working for her. And then another post does like really, really well. And you're like, okay, now I'm going to do this other series. If something is working, a piece of content, a platform, a strategy, any like literally anything, keep doing it. Rinse and repeat. Like, find your well-oiled machine. And this doesn't mean it needs to be like completely automated or anything. It just means find what works and just make sure you keep doing it. If you do, I guarantee you will see more results in your business with less, like the less amount of work, or like less time. Um, like you're putting less time into it because you're probably just doing a lot of unnecessary things. This has been one of the most helpful things, not only for like my business and my productivity, but also my nervous system. Because for a long time, I found myself just overworking. And it was just like, I finally had a moment where I looked at my to do list. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I looked at my to do list and I was like, what, like, why am I even doing these things? And I just kept adding things to my to do list. And I went through every single task on my to do list and was like, is this absolutely necessary for my business to make money? If not, get it the fuck off my to do list. If like, or else you're like running around just like it's like a hobby, and you're just like, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try this. At the beginning of your business, okay, yeah, it's a little bit like that, and it is super beneficial to test out a bunch of different things to see what works. But once you have what works, stop like floating around and just like doing random things. Just keep doing what works. This is like the greatest lesson that I have personally learned in the past, like even like 2 months. I know that sounds crazy, but like I've had so many breakthroughs just these past 2 months about this specifically, and just being efficient, like literally just being efficient. So only do what is necessary. This is like the boundary. And this is what I'm focusing on a lot right now. So that, yeah, like I can just get my shit done and then go live my life. Like I don't have to be working 8 to 10 hours a day. Sometimes, but not like 8 to 10 hours like every single day. No, that is not necessary to grow a successful business. It's just not. So, I also talk about this. I talked about this in another email. Again, like if you're not on my newsletter, get on it. I was talking about the 3 parts of business and how essential it is just to make sure that you are doing one of each thing. And I gave a bunch of tips for each one. I actually have a PDF that shows like a bunch of those. So if you want that, let me know. You can email me or DM me on Instagram. I will give that to you. It's super, super helpful to get you like very concise about what you are doing in your business. Okay, on to number 4. The next boundary that I have is being clear about my response times and not setting personal due dates. Let me explain what this means. Sometimes we create due dates for ourselves that don't even exist. And we put pressure on things and we stress ourselves out and we force ourselves to do things when we don't really need to do it. Let me give an example. And I'm going to shout out my assistant, Ashley. She is the best. I love her so much. I'm actually going to see her tomorrow because she is in Vegas and I am so excited. And I know that she won't care about me um, calling her out because it's actually like the cutest thing ever. She is just an overachiever. And that's why I love her so much. Like, she has so much integrity and passion, and like, she really wants to do a good job. But sometimes I will give her a task and she will be like, okay, perfect. I'll get that to you tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, I don't need it done by tomorrow, but okay. And she'll be like, okay, I'll get it to you by tomorrow. And then it's tomorrow and she's like, oh my gosh, Maddie, like something came up. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to get it done today, but I will get it to you by tomorrow. And I have to literally call her and be like, Ashley, I never gave you a due date. You could literally get this done in 2 weeks and I would not have thought anything of it. I would have not even been upset. And she's like, oh, I know, but like, I just thought I could get it done tomorrow. And like, I want to get it done for you quick. Like, she's just such a good assistant. Like, Ash, I love you. But yeah, I've had to call her out multiple times to her face. I'm like, Ashley, I never gave you a due date. And she's like, oh yeah, fuck. I'm giving myself my own personal due date again. And we do this often. And so this is what I was also saying about like being clear about my response times. Like, even if a client messages me, I usually answer client messages within 24 hours. So I never say like, oh, I'll answer you by tonight, or okay, I'll get that to you by tomorrow, or oh, like no, I don't tell people when I'm going to respond. And I don't say that I'm going to respond early because you never know what's going to happen. You might have to like take your pet to the vet, or, you might get sick yourself, or, you have a family thing come up or something comes up. And then you're like, oh, fuck, I told my client that I was going to answer them by tonight when you really didn't need to. You just need to answer them within 24 hours. So you could answer them by tomorrow afternoon. And that's like completely within your contract and your just boundaries that you put in the first place, the policy that you have in the first place. So why are you creating a shorter policy for yourself when you when you don't need to? And it's all in good intent, right? Just like with Ash, like it's all in good intent. You're like, oh, like I'll get back to you right away. Just don't even say that. Just, hey, I'll get back to you when I can. Why are we putting we're putting our own personal due dates on things when we don't need to? And with others, like telling people like, oh, I'll get it done by this date, when you just like, you don't need to say anything, right? And so this for me has been like huge, 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 because I'm giving myself more space, right? And I'm not putting unrealistic expectations on the work that I need to get done. Of course, there are some exceptions to this where like it is beneficial to tell someone like, hey, I'm going to get this done by this time. But it's when we like do it when it's unnecessary, right? Don't put unnecessary due dates on things where it doesn't need to be. give yourself space. Let yourself get it done when you need to. And if there is like a real due date, then of course like follow that. But I'm saying don't create personal due dates for yourselves that aren't really there. You're just like putting a pressure on yourself where it doesn't need to be. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. This doesn't mean like, yeah, if a client needs something by a certain time, or if your boss, if you work a job, if your boss says like, hey, I need this by end of day, this doesn't mean like you don't get it for them by the end of day and that's their boundary. You guys get what I'm saying, right? I hope that you do. So don't create unnecessary uh, response times and unnecessary due dates. That is number 4. Okay. And number 5, the last like boundary that I want to talk about is setting reoccurring reminders so that I can turn off my brain more. So I have this thing. It's called Trello. If you don't know what Trello is, it is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me ever. I know some people use like Asana or Monday or Notion. These are all just like online softwares to organize things. For me, I'm just a Trello girl through and through. I love it so much. Just the way my brain works, I don't know. It's something for me. If you know me personally, you know that I could not live without my Trello and my Google Cal. Um, so both of these things actually. I use Trello for a lot of my reminders, but also my Google Calendar actually does have a lot of reminders as well. But I make sure that I am keeping like reminders. A lot of times they're like automated and recurring, that are like keeping me on track with things so that I don't have to keep myself on track. For example, like I do it for even the littlest things. Like on Monday, I have a reoccurring task that shows up on my Trello every single Monday morning that says check in with all clients. And I know every Monday I'm going to wake up, first thing on my to-do list is to check in with all my clients. And I can like turn my brain off over the weekend, and Sunday night I don't have to be thinking like, what do I need to do? What are all the things I need to do? Like, oh, need to do this and need to do that, and like feeling all scattered, right? I can just relax and have an amazing Sunday and not even think about work, because I know when I get into office Monday morning, like my calendar is going to remind me of everything. I have reminders to do my bookkeeping. I have reminders for just like paying rent and stuff like that. I have reminders on my calendar of just like every single event that I have, like flights, like literally anything that I possibly need to remember, I have written down in my Trello and my Google Calendar. I'm trying to think of like what else I have. Oh, I have things for just like invoices. Um, oh, my Trello is like giving me an error right now, so I can't even see my full list. But you guys get the gist. Like anything that is happening in my life, it is in my Trello and my Google Calendar. And not only is this like some people might see this and be like, oh, that's just like such a type A way of living. Like, oh yeah, like you like to make your lists. But when you can organize yourself in an amazing way, you can turn off more. You can like completely clock out for the weekend and not have to have your mind on work, because you know that everything that you would need to remember or the things that you need to do, it's already written. So you can just shut off and relax and know that it's going to all be there waiting for you. Right? So I'm not constantly I'm not constantly trying to remember things. It's all organized for me. Dates, it's all automated. It pops up like just when it needs to. And for me, this has created this boundary where yeah, I don't have to be thinking about work all the time. It's just very organized. So find an organizational tool that works for you, whether it's Monday or Asana or Notion, or I don't know what the other ones are out there anymore, or Trello. Having that is going to create just more peace of mind for you, right? Even just ideas. I'm always like content ideas. People that I'm talking to like on Instagram, or like potential clients, people that I'm like just having conversations with that I need to follow up with. Like I'm keeping lists of all of these things so that when I want to just watch a movie with my man and I want to just like lay down, I don't have to think about those things. It's all waiting for me when I'm ready to clock back in. And like I said, I really do clock in. Like when I'm done working, I close the door to my office and I'm done working. I don't think about it anymore. And that is like the most beautiful gift that I have like ever given to myself. Okay, guys, those are all of my tips. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope these spark some ideas for you to create more work-life balance in your own life. It really is so important. And like I said at the beginning, you have to be conscious about it and you have to be intentional about it. Um, or else you just get kind of stuck in this funk where it's easy to just like keep working. It's easy to, you know, guide yourself in similar ways that other bosses did, to be really intentional about like, how do I want to create my lifestyle and set up my business to support my lifestyle, and how can I give myself more freedom? How can you give yourself more and more freedom? And this is what is genuinely so important to me when it comes to creating a business. Um, creating a business that actually feels good, where you are balancing the masculine and the feminine. Like you have the strategies to move your business forward. And, you are putting the work in. I think there's something so empowering and beautiful about putting the work in, but then also making sure that that is supporting a lifestyle where you can relax and enjoy your life and have that freedom and go on the trip. And I literally talked to someone the other day and she said to me, like, I would love to come on one of your retreats, but I can't even take 2 days off, let alone 9. And she has her own business. She's like, I could not even leave my business for 2 days. That for me is like, no, you've got to create a business and a life where you can enjoy your life and take time off and do your thing and not be stressed out all the time. And building a business like this is really what I teach in my program, Serve, which is my 6-month program on how to build and grow a heart centered service based business. So, for my coaches, VAs, healers, really anyone that is providing a service online. Also, if you're hearing crazy bells, my cat is going crazy on her toy right now. Um, really, anyone that creates a service online, this is for you. It's going to be everything from A to Z on how to grow a business. So, the marketing, the messaging, the social media, the branding, all of that. But then also the feminine work, the energetic work, the confidence work, the strategy, the masculine strategy, like how to actually get clients in the door and do sales calls and close the sales, and how to start your own podcast and how to even like be a good coach. It literally is A to Z on building and growing a heart-centered business, and it's just going to be infused with these heart-centered philosophies that I have. And everything that this podcast was about, just like finding a way to create a business that feels good and is fun, is fun, but also it actually works, which is like the strategy business coach side of me. So it's honestly going to be epic. I'm super excited about this program. I'm going to be launching very, very soon. Not quite yet, but I'm going to leave a wait list in the show notes so that you can get first dibs and also get a major discount when the program does arrive and the doors are open. So I'm so excited and I can't wait to have you guys inside. So yeah, let me know if you guys have questions. I would love to answer questions. I'll be talking about this program a lot more. So stay tuned. And yeah, I think that's all, folks. I hope you guys loved this episode. If you did, please leave a rating and a review. Or if you are on YouTube, maybe a little comment, a little like, a little subscribe. I haven't used YouTube in a long time. So to say like and subscribe is like so funny to me. Anyway, I hope you guys have a beautiful week, beautiful weekend, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.